Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm not sure what was going on earlier. I was having some technical issues, so I apologize for that. So hopefully people were able to see the new link and were able to access that. So I again apologize for the confusion with that. So this is Dr. Kamani, licensed clinical psychologist, and you are here for Black women in the workplace, particularly in relation to times that we've been treated like a workhorse in the workplace and how that contributes to feelings of burnout. So again, I'm just going to give a few moments for people to log in because there was some confusion with the previous link. There was some echo, and then I had to shut down the StreamYard. But when I shut down the StreamYard, it shut down the whole thing. So I hope that people are able to access the new link. But anyway, so I'm going to have my guest introduce herself, and then we're going to go into the discussion. Hopefully more people, again, are seeing the updated link. And again, I apologize for the technical issues. So let's say if you can introduce yourself, and then we'll go right into the discussion.
Well, hey, everybody. My name is Lisa Cristina Boden. I'm a licensed professional counselor supervisor, educator, and life coach. I'm originally from the beautiful country of Panama, but now I reside in Texas, and that's where I have my private practice, Shining Lights Counseling.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. So I just want to say again, thank you, because I reached out to her very last minute and she made this happen. So I'm so very thankful to you that you took the time to be here today. And so we're having this discussion in light of, you may have heard of recent events that have happened, particularly for Black women in leadership positions, high profile leadership positions. And this past week or last week, I heard about 3 Black women who died. And I want to call their names in terms of giving honor to them. So we have Dr. Joanne Epps, Temple University acting president, attorney Linda Gordon Howard, congressional aide, law professor, and trustee, and Dr. Arintha T. Montag, I hope I pronounced her name correctly, president of Volunteer State Community College. So again, these recent deaths have been very heartbreaking, just in terms of how many Black women we've lost this past week. And we don't know how many other Black women we have lost. We don't know the true cause in terms of what's happened, but in terms of looking at these high profile positions, the stress, and what we're seeing in terms of the impact. Now, I've talked to you all before on my YouTube channel about the stress of toxic jobs and how that can cause significant harm physically and psychologically. So this is just highlighting that as well. And we're going to have a discussion about it today. So, let's, when we talked earlier, I also mentioned that I'm a toxic job survivor. You mentioned that you're a toxic job survivor as well. And we're both therapists. So we both work with Black women. So I would love for you to share with the audience a little bit more in terms of experiences in the workplace of being the workhorse. What does that look like? And how can that contribute to burnout?
Well, I think when it comes to being the workhorse, some of it is innate, like is in us, like we want to show up in our jobs and be the best. And we are always told since we were kids, you have to work 2 times as hard. Sometimes, right? Because we're already women, and then you add on that we're Black, right? So then we already show up that way. And then the expectations get piled on. And sometimes we feel like, since I have to show up and shine even brighter than my counterparts, to even be noticed, to even be recognized, we overdo it.
Yeah. And overdo it to the point where it's even hard to rest and to know that people are constantly looking at us. So they're looking at us to see, oh, how's she going to perform? And they're expecting the worst, even though the fact that we were hired shows that we had to be up and above, because we don't usually get passes. So we are performing really well, but people are always looking at us. And I think that's always in the back of our mind, that we can't slip up, we can't make a mistake, we can't, kind of do what some people might say, like act like a mediocre white man. We can't do that in the workplace. There's no place for us for that. We have to be at the high level. And so then we just work and work and work and work. And I've heard so many Black women talk about they've accrued so many vacations, sick days, all those different things, because they're even leery to take a break because of how they might be seen. And I just think that, particularly in terms of the recent passings that we talked about earlier, particularly with Dr. Epps, that I read that she was actually at a memorial for another Black colleague.
Yeah.
And she collapsed, right? And so just thinking about that, and that event kept going. So, the concern is, as Black women, how are we seen and treated in the workplace? And even our lives, how much are our lives really valued? We are dedicating our lives, but these workplaces are not valuing us. They're not respecting us. And so it's wondering, like, what is the point? I remember there were two quotes that stand out to me. So Anne-Marie Archer, the anti-HR lady, we did a masterclass together, and she said, the job would not take one day in your honor if something happened to you. And then I also remember Dr. Nadia Lopez talked about, why are we killing ourselves for jobs that would not grieve for us at our grave? And so understanding that. So I'm wondering, in terms of, for you as a toxic job survivor and as a therapist, what are some of the common themes or patterns that you have experienced and or heard from other Black women?
Well, I think the main one is just the threat of being the stereotype, right? So you feel that pressure and you want to disprove those negative stereotypes and show that you're not that, whatever that is, right?
Right.
So I don't want to be the angry Black woman, so I'm not going to complain. I'm going to work 2 times as harder because I don't want them to look at me as lazy.
Yes.
Right? And then when something bad does happen, right? Again, we can't complain. We can't say nothing because we don't want to look as difficult.
Yeah. Oh, difficult. Yeah. Hard to work with. The tone. Yeah.
And a team worker. Right? All those things.
Yeah. Yes.
So I think that comes up a lot.
Pressure. Yes. And so knowing that there's no room for error. So we always have to be at the A game. And that's very, very, very stressful. Yes. So what has it looked like for you and your clients in terms of the actual presentation of experiencing this?
Well, for a lot of my clients, they get really bad anxiety going into work. So they're not even put a foot in work yet. And they're already saying, oh my goodness, what's going to happen today? How I got to present myself. I got to make sure and dress up every day. And it even might be a job that they don't even have to dress up at. Right. They feel like they have to like show up in a certain way and also like put on a face. Right.
Yes.
Never show anger, never shed a tear, never get frustrated. And also code switch.
Yes.
Like your authentic self.
Yes.
To me, that's the hardest point.
Absolutely. And the part too about when you're masking all day, I've heard this from so many Black women, and I know I experienced it too in terms of being in a toxic job, that you're masking all day. In fact, I did a presentation based upon my experience called your job mask is your job mask making it hard for you to breathe? So when you're masking all day, you feel like you're on display. Many times as Black women, we are hyper visible in terms of people are looking at us, critiquing us, micromanaging us, all those things. But when it comes time for promotions or recognition, we're invisible. And so, having that presentation, like everything is together, on some level for Black women, it serves as survival value, because we know that there's a lot of people in the workplace who are out to get us. So when we talk about psychological safety, many times there is none, because we accurately are assessing that people are trying to sabotage us or do things to undermine our work. And
Yeah.
so masking, I've heard about this so much in terms of, as we come to the workplace, we look good, right? Like we are dressed to the nines, we look so good, and we just present ourselves as a certain way. But that's part of the psychological armoring as we go into the workplace, right?
Yeah.
So can you share in terms of, because when we think about burnout is often like this slow moving train, right? So you usually don't recognize the signs until you're in it. You're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I'm burnt out. I don't want to go to work. I'm all these other things. So what are some things that you think might be helpful for Black women to learn to recognize the signs of burnout, like early? I would say different stages. So early, mid, and like you really deep in it.
Well, I'll say definitely early on, you start feeling irritated by things, little tasks, right? Things that you can do in your sleep. But it's just like, I gotta do this now. I gotta do that. When it's something easy, but you're just so irritated by it, right?
Yes.
And then also just, again, people just upsetting you by little tasks that they're asking you to do. That's, again, before, when you initiated the job, it was not a big deal. You just did it. Now, I think in between, that's when you start getting the headaches, the feeling of fatigue, the stomach problems, because it starts affecting you physically also, right?
Yeah.
And then you're really feeling drained. Then when you get home, you can't sleep because you're
Right.
thinking a lot about
The job.
what I do next day.
Yes. What did I do? Did I do this right? What are you doing
Yeah.
tomorrow? It's so when we think about the toxic job, it's toxic too because it carries over into our personal lives. So we can't just turn it off. And I think that's another sign of burnout is that
Yes.
you're constantly thinking about the job. And I remember reading something too that I think it talked about like the early stages of burnout, that you think that you can get over the burnout by working harder. And so then you
Yes.
start working even harder, which is counterproductive because now you're even more exhausted, right? And so what is like the knee deep, like you're in trouble, girl? What are those signs?
In my opinion, you don't even want to go into work.
Oh,
Right? Because most of us, especially in the people that have a career, right?
yeah.
This is where I want to be.
Yes.
You start hating the place you study so hard for, the things that you sacrificed, you studied, you got this degree or certification, whatever it is, the student loans, and you're like, why did I do this to myself?
Yes.
I don't even want to go into work.
Oh, yeah.
And you start rethinking your career. That's when you're knee deep, because then thinking, okay, I might need to just switch jobs, or I might need to set some boundaries. You are thinking, this career is not for me. You start questioning yourself and your dreams and the things that you've been aspiring to do. You start questioning it, and it also spills over into your personal life, right? You're now getting irritated with your partner or your family members, and you don't want to go out. You don't want to do like fun things for yourself. You're always tired and drained and almost detached.
Yeah. So you just want to sleep all weekend. That's what you do
All
all
weekend.
weekend, basically sleep. And what's so sad too, something that I've experienced is sometimes when Black women, all people do this, but I'm talking specifically to Black women, how we define ourselves in terms of our job position, our job title. And so then it becomes a core sense of who you are. So if that's threatened, then it becomes like this almost a crisis moment in terms of defining yourself like that. So what words would you give to Black women who may be doing that, who might define themselves in terms of their job, their position? What would you say to them?
That your job is just a piece of you.
Yes.
Right? That is way more to you than just your job and your degree.
Yes. Because when that happens, is that now you're always looking for external validation. So
Yeah.
if you don't feel like you're enough, or you constantly feel that other people have to reinforce that you're worthy, now you've given your power away. And I think that's very dangerous when we do that, when we give
Yeah.
our power away. So now you're always kind of waiting. And then what about, because I've heard about this too, and I think absolutely have experienced this. The fact that we work so hard, we know that Black women are the most educated in the nation. We have worked so hard to get our education, to get our jobs. So just think about the going to school, getting the student loans, interviewing, networking. All you got to do at your job. You're probably doing it at the top of your game, right? All of that, and to experience such negative treatment where people are questioning your competence, or you're constantly dealing with attacks, sometimes it can cause us to feel disillusioned, right?
Yes,
I
for sure.
cannot believe, is this what it's about? Because I remember when I was in a toxic job, I would say to myself, do I really want to be a psychologist? Like you talked about before in terms of career. Do I really want to be a psychologist? Because if this is it, then I must not want to be a psychologist. But once I left, I realized I love working as a psychologist. I didn't love working there.
I had
Okay.
the same experience at my
Yeah.
toxic job.
Tell
Same
us about
experience.
that. Tell us
I
about that.
actually questioned being a therapist. I was like, is this the career I want? Like, did I
Yes.
waste all these years studying?
Yes.
Like, I need to find something else. And I actually started looking. I actually
Oh,
started
you already started
looking.
looking.
Yes, I actually started looking into other
Wow.
careers where I could use my skills,
Oh
right?
my gosh.
But then I started noticing people still wanted me in other jobs, right? And I started also applying for counseling jobs as well.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, no, it's this job that I'm
Yes, yes,
right. But
yes,
it took
yes.
me a while to recognize that, because that
Yeah.
was early on in my career as a
Mm-hmm.
therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And it really broke me down, because I
Yeah.
was like, do I need to, like, did I take the wrong career? It
Yeah. And
really made me question that.
that is so painful when you're at that state. And so, and let me just say this. I have just been astounded about how um, disconnected and how petty and cruel and evil some people are in these jobs, particularly mental health, because you're thinking mental health, well,
Yes.
you have an understanding about the mind and compassion. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
The insecurities that people have override everything else. And so I think that's a challenge too, particularly for those of us in the helping professions, that we have a certain level of expectation that people would, carry themselves in a certain way, have a certain level of respect. And it's like, what? Like, wait a minute, aren't we on the same team? Like, how can you talk about mental health and you killing everybody in the job?
Exactly.
Like, what are you doing? So that's important. So what would you say to Black women to help them reality test about what you're experiencing, is valid, right?
Mhm.
And let's look at, do you feel this in all spaces? Is it just that space? How or what words would you say to Black women about reality testing, about a toxic job?
Well, I'll definitely say have some people to check in with you, right? Because that's going to help you through. When I was going
Yeah.
through that, my friends and a few other colleagues that were also Black therapists were like, Lisa, this is you. This is your passion. You
Mm-hmm.
are a therapist through and through. Do
Yes.
not let these people affect you. And
Yeah.
you just need to find something else.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And I'll definitely say check in with your community, with the people surrounding you, because
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna help you pull out of this bad season.
Oh,
We
yeah.
all have those bad seasons. I don't want them to look at it and also remind themselves it's a bad season. That,
Yes.
I'm in this bad chapter of this book, but the next chapter things are gonna get better, right?
Yes.
And you
Yes.
can be your own knight in shining armor, right? You're gonna get yourself out of this yourself.
Yes. Yes. Point taken, right? So a few things that you just said. One is the importance of reality testing with people you trust. And I'm always leery about other coworkers or
Yeah.
colleagues,
Yeah.
because I have been burned, because I have shared things with people that I thought I could trust, particularly other Black women, and it turns out I could not trust them.
Yeah.
So I've been mindful of that. And so I just say to Black women, be mindful who you reality test with. Now, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying that you can't make friends at the job. Some of my closest friends are my former coworkers, right? But I did make a mistake with some. So reality test with those you can trust. And then the other part that you said that was so powerful is at a certain point, we have to reality test, but only we can save ourselves. Nobody's going to come and save us, right? So, like Malcolm X said, we are the most unprotected women,
Yeah.
or the people in this country. And so, as Black women, at a certain level, we have to recognize that we need to protect ourselves and save ourselves, but recognize when it's time to get out. So I think it will be helpful too, because I've shared on my YouTube channel, also
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie Perry's interview with me about leaving a toxic job, Black women leaving toxic jobs. So I have been very transparent about my journey in relation to leaving. So I started my YouTube channel about a year ago, and I just started talking about what was happening. And the more I started talking about it, the more Black women started reaching out to me. And I just want to say to Black women, I so appreciate all of you who have reached out to me and who have encouraged me and told me to keep going and sharing my story, because I have found that by sharing my story, my testimony, it heals me and it helps to heal other Black women. So I would love to hear a little bit about your story in terms of what happened, because when we think about a toxic job, for most of us, what happens is there's a progression, right? So there's a series of ridiculous things that happen to a point where you're like, I'm done. I can't deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So you might try to convince yourself to stay, and it's just so ridiculous you can't even stay anymore. So can you share with the audience, what was your progression? What were the things that happened that helped you on that path to leaving? And the reason I wanted to do this too, not only in terms of the power of testimony and for Black women to know that they're not alone, there's so many Black women going through this, but also for them to see how we have walked through fear, the fear of leaving a job. We have walked through that, and we're on the other side doing so much better. But I think it's helpful to hear how you got there. So can you share with us, like, what was the progression for you?
Like for me, when I started working there, everything was great, of course, right? I was the go-to person.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Litsa can train you, Litsa can do this for you. But then I noticed all the tasks were falling on me,
Uh,
right? And then all the other people was just chilling. I
uh-huh,
was like, okay.
uh-huh.
Mm. So I
She
started
got it.
noticing
She got it.
that.
She's strong.
Yeah, she got it. She got it. She got it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then I'll never get recognition for things. So I'll
Ah.
do all the work, but oh, we can't put your name on this. You can, thank you so and so for helping Litsa out. But I was like, but I'm the one who created the idea or did the
Wow.
thing, right? Things like that will start happening, and
Yeah.
I kept on coming home frustrated, complaining to my friends or my family. And they're like, hey, they'll point things out to me like, you keep on coming home frustrated and complaining. And I had to talk with even my manager, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had to talk with my manager and I was like, hey, I'm noticing these things.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is bothering me. And, I
Mm-hmm.
thought since I'm her workhorse, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
thought I could have that conversation. After that conversation, things got worse for me, actually.
Ooh, like, how
Right?
dare you? How dare
Yeah.
you? Let me say
Yeah.
something too, Litsa, is that I think a lot of us can relate to this, is that what you're talking about sounds like Pet the Threat, right? So you were the pet, like, oh my God, Litsa's so smart. She does everything so good. We love Litsa. We love her, right? So Pet
Hmm.
the Threat, if you have not heard of that, is created by 3 Black women researchers. I always want to say their names because people steal their work and don't get them credit. So I'm going to say their names. So Dr. Juanita Johnson Bailey, Dr. Keisha Thomas, Dr.
Hmm.
Rosemary Phelps. Pet the Threat deals with when a Black woman comes in the workplace. She does an outstanding job. She's the pet. Oh my God, we love her. She's so smart. And then when she dares to outshine other people, then
Yeah.
she becomes a threat. And then you see that shift. So listen, that shift happened to you. And it was more like, how dare you? Like, you need to just stay in your place. And who is
Exactly.
this uppity, right? So that's what happens to a lot of us too. So it shifted. And what happened when it shifted? You said it got worse. How did it get worse?
Well, in the sense that she started like putting on more tasks for me. And when I tried to set boundaries, then she started saying that I was being angry or
Oh,
combative and things of that nature.
okay.
Yeah. And then, we just kept on going back and forth. It was like a lot of back and forth, back and forth. And that's when I started looking for a new job, because I was like, if I stay here,
Yeah.
it's gonna take over,
Yeah.
it's gonna overwhelm me, right?
Yeah.
And it was already overwhelming me. Like, I'll
Yeah.
come home some days and cry, because of course you
Yeah.
couldn't cry
Of
at the
course.
job, right? And worse,
Mhm.
being a therapist, you're taking care of others.
Yes.
You didn't want to display any of that in
Yeah.
front of your clients. It's their time.
Yeah.
So I'll come home and be upset or frustrated and cry and whatnot. And I started looking for a new job, and I was like,
Mhm.
even if it takes me, even if I have to take a job that doesn't pay me as much, I'm getting out of here. Because,
Mm.
and it was that point when I had to leave, because she just kept on, she even wrote me up a couple times
Ooh. Wow.
after it got that
Wow.
bad. And somebody warned, one of my other coworkers warned me about her, in the sense of, he had a situation with her as well.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
he was like, look, she is very, combative,
Ooh.
and you have to be very careful. So I just decided to leave.
Yeah.
And I took a job that didn't pay as much. And I
Uh-huh.
was like, peace of mind is
Yes.
more expensive. It's better.
It's better. It's worth it, right?
It's
Because you
worth
have to
it.
think about the cost of you being at a toxic
Yeah.
job is that it costs you your life. So you're thinking about it, you're stressing about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not worth it. And the
Yeah.
other part too, Litsa, is that I think for many of us in the mental health field, in terms of, you said, we are tasked with helping to heal others. But the dynamic that is so insane is you have people like workplace bullies. I know I experienced that, workplace bullies
Yeah.
who are traumatizing you, but then expecting you to provide trauma-informed care to clients.
Exactly.
It makes no sense. And I never understand how these people stay in positions of power. I
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
understand it.
My
So,
health, I recognize that my health around that time
uh-huh.
just got terrible.
Oh.
Like, I was stress eating.
Mm-hmm.
I kept on getting headaches. I,
Mm-hmm.
I all through the weekend I was asleep. People invite me out. Hey, you want to hang out? No, I just want to be by myself, because it
Yeah.
was just that overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was wondering, why am I so emotional right now? Why? This is not my normal me,
Yeah.
right? So I always encourage people to recognize those shifts,
Yes.
right? Because my
Yes.
body changed, my mental health changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all those
Mm-hmm.
things were affected by this one job.
Yes, right? And
Mhm.
oh, so much about that. So the part about oversleeping and trying to you're trying to recoup because you've been under attack all week. And so
Yeah.
you're just trying to just heal from that. But it's very
Mhm.
hard to heal. And I've said this so many times. It's hard to heal in the same environment that's harming you. So if you keep going in the same environment, it keeps beating you down, it's hard to truly heal. And there was a part where you said you recognize that you had to go. You recognize you had to go. And I think a lot of Black women, we recognize that. The difference between you and I is that we did eventually go. I think a
Yeah.
lot of Black women are in this space right now. They are feeling everything you're saying. They can relate to things that I've been saying. They are terrified due to fear. So the
And I
fear
was
of,
terrified too. I want to make sure and say that I
okay,
stayed for a long time at this toxic job. I don't want you guys to think like, oh, I was just like empowered about, right? No, I wish I could say that. No,
yes,
I stayed there for a long time because I was so passionate about my clients'
yes,
job, right?
yes.
And I stayed there and I put up with it, but it was becoming so toxic and so crazy for me that
Yeah,
I was like, it's gonna be me or this job, right? I chose
exactly.
myself. But it
Exactly.
took a while to get there and also take that leap because I was comfortable.
Yeah. Oh,
I was comfortable.
Ooh,
Just to be honest, right? I was
ooh,
like, just pay my bills.
right.
I got, a good cushion.
Uh-huh.
I'm able to do other things. I'm able to
Yeah,
travel now. I'm able to do this and that and the
yeah.
other. So I'm comfortable.
The golden handcuffs.
Yeah, but I was not happy though.
No,
And then I
right.
was not able to enjoy the money I was making and the things
Yes.
that I was planning on doing with this
Uh-huh.
money and all this. I was not doing it because I was so tired and drained.
And stressed out, right? So I
Yeah.
remember a quote that Stephanie Perry said that I loved it. She said, a good job is not a good job if it's killing you.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
we say it was good, I was comfortable, I think on some level there was a degree of some type of predictability, like, the
Yeah.
routine, right? And I've heard Black women say, well, I'd rather stay with the devil I know than the devil I don't know. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't want you to know any devils. We don't want to know any
Exactly.
devils. That's not a good thing.
No
And
devils.
so, no devils, right? So can you talk, because I talk a lot about this too, that I want to acknowledge the fear is real. The fear is there throughout the whole process up until when I resigned. The fear is there. How did you walk through the fear? How did you do that?
Well, for sure, again, my village really pushed me, right? They were like, you got this. And, even though people tell you, hey, I got your back.
Mm-hmm.
And if something happens, you can stay by me or whatever. I'll help you pay this bill or whatever the case is. I know for me, I'm like, no, I still got to take care of me. Right.
Yes.
I
Yes.
want to take care of myself. I don't want to
Yes.
depend on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So even though people are telling me that, I was like, whatever. So I told myself the best time to look for a job is while you have one. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I was comfortable
Mm-hmm.
and I was having some issues, I still was looking, and I noticed this is what helped me also
Mm-hmm.
leave the job. I noticed that people wanted me in other jobs. Right? I recognized like I got this skill that people want.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And this skill that I have can go anywhere and I'll be hired.
Yes.
And the right job will be out there for me. So if I have to struggle for a little bit or take a job that pays less for now, that's what I'm going to have to do. And that's what helped me like take that leap because it was scary. Don't get me wrong. But I was just like, if this job, I can't let this job kill me.
Point taken. Yes, point taken. And my hope is that Black women hear your message and understand that. And just like when I started this conversation, we talked about 3 Black women we've lost this past week.
Yeah.
In leadership or high profile positions. So we have to keep in mind that no job is worth our lives. That's number 1. Number 2, it might be comfortable giving you money, but like you said, you can use your skills and talents someplace else and people will value that. So you have options. So don't feel like that job is the only place where you can get money. That's not true.
And I also want to make sure and say this, you're mentioning these women that recently passed. I think a lot of them also stayed in their jobs because they were in this position of power that they could bring. They were trying to bring other Black women up, right? They were like the first or the only of their job or their field, right?
Yeah.
So they felt like they needed to stay there to make an impact for other Black women. And you always have to think about yourself.
Absolutely.
First.
Absolutely.
It sounds selfish, but it's not.
It's not. And I think that challenges the social programming for us as Black women.
Yeah.
That we've always been told to prioritize other people over us. We've been told not to be too big, right? Not to shine too bright, not to be too loud, like all these things. But when we don't do that, then we lose sight of ourselves. We lose sight of the signs. We lose sight of all these different things. And so I think it's important that women hear from you and I that you can pivot, you can do something else. Because listen, what I've heard, and I don't know if you've heard this too in your practice, but what I'll hear is, I can't leave this job because I'll end up homeless. And I'm like, wait a minute, how'd you go from leave the job to homeless? Like, how do we go there?
That's a real fear.
Right. Like, but what about all the other steps? Like, you can't get another job or like what's going on, right? And so that fear has been kind of instilled in us to keep us in our places. And so we are saying, no. What were we going to say, Litsa?
No, I think a lot of people have that fear because they most likely came from poverty also, or just struggled, growing up. And they saw that their parents had 3 or 4 jobs and they're like, well, I'm doing better than them, so I don't want to go back to that, right? And it's that fear of going back. And you have to recognize your gifts.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, these people hired you. Clearly you're working your butt off, right?
Yes.
They're workhorse. So if they're telling you all of this, somewhere else will want you the same way.
Absolutely.
And will treat you better.
Absolutely. And when you say treat you better, you have the option. What I tell Black women all the time, you have the option of you can get another job, but just make sure that you do your research so you don't end up in another toxic job. Do your research, okay? So Anne-Marie talks about look on Indeed, look on Glassdoor, talk to other people who work there, do your research, and or you can do your own thing. So we have options. Yeah. So Litsa, what would you say to a Black woman who is watching us right now? And I'm very intentional about doing these lives at this time on Sundays, because this time used to be the worst day of the week for me because I knew I had to go back to that toxic job Monday. And, I also wanted to highlight that my job didn't start off toxic, just like yours didn't. And I think a lot of us, we come into the job, it feels good. You're like, oh, this is cool, right? And then these crazy things start happening and we try to ignore it. We try to move past it. We try to work it out. But then it's just like a build up. So Litsa, what would you say to a Black woman who's watching us right now? And she is like, I am so beat down from this job. I am overworked. They don't have enough staff here. I'm overworked. I'm not appreciated for my work. I'm crying on my way to work. I'm crying leaving work. I'm burnt. I'm burnt out. What words of wisdom would you say to her?
Well, I'll say definitely practice daily self-care, because we hear that word all the time, and I know it.
Yes.
But when I say daily self-care, is little things that you could do every day for yourself to keep you going, right? So if it is exercising, drinking water, right? Because people don't look at that as self-care. When we hear self-care, we hear, going to the trip, or getting my nails done, and those things. And yes, that's part of self-care too, right? But when I'm saying daily self-care, is setting boundaries, is daily self-care, right? Resting, actually taking your lunch break,
take a vacation, take a break,
taking your sick days, right? That's what they're there for. Actually eating lunch, because I think a lot of us go through our days, we work, and we don't do anything for ourselves. I ask my clients, when's the last time you actually rested, like really, really rested? Like, not because I'm just deadbeat tired from the day and I fell asleep. No, actually, I'm gonna take a nap right now. When's the last time? A lot of them have to think about it. A lot of them, I was like, what did you eat for lunch today? I'll ask them. And they can't even tell me because they rushed through it and didn't even eat lunch. Right? And so taking those breaks throughout your day, having a self-care routine in the morning and maybe even at night, right? When it comes to meditating, prioritizing your list, right? We all have stuff to do every day. Maybe prioritizing a list and saying, okay, I got these few things done. I'm giving yourself grace is self-care.
Yes. Yes. And I would also add to going outside, being in because the sun, vitamin D, natural mood elevator is very important. Being in community of other people can be a protective factor too. It's very helpful when you have supportive people around you. And sometimes I don't know if you experienced this. I think you did, because I think you mentioned this. The supportive people around you can be the ones saying to you, you need to get out of there, because they are seeing the harm that's happening to you. And they know you deserve better. They're like, wait a minute, you're dope. Why are you staying there? Why are
Exactly.
you here? Right.
Why are
And
you doing
so
this?
having that community is very important because we might be so in it that we can't see a way out. Right. The other thing is when self-care, this is how you know it's time to go. When the self-care is not doing anything for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
For
And you're
sure.
like, I've done everything. I'm still miserable. I'm still crying on my way to work. I'm
Yeah,
still
it's
doing all
time
these
to
different
go.
things. Right. And, something I try to talk to clients about is what do you do for fun? Like what
Yeah.
gives you joy? Right. What makes you laugh? And
Having
right.
a hobby.
Something.
Yeah.
But that's something a toxic job can rob from you because you're so
It can. Yeah.
exhausted. You can't even think of what makes you fun, what's fun for you
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
And
That's
that's
true.
another disturbing thing. Now, something I want to say before we wind down, um, the issue of self-forgiveness. That's something I've been really working on for myself because
Yeah.
you said this too. The only regret I have about that toxic job, I don't regret working there. I did a lot of great things. I met a lot of great people. I'm still connected to them. What I regret is that I stayed there longer than I needed to. So when all these painful things were happening to me, I tried to keep convincing myself. I kept lying to
Me
myself,
too.
trying to trick myself, trying all these other things. And so when I hear Black women say things like, I'm going to try to stick it out for a couple of years until I retire. Or I'm just going to try to wait it out until my child graduates high school, college, whatever. And I feel like that's lying to ourselves. But I think
It
part of
is.
the challenge too is the self forgiveness. And I have to say that regularly. I have to say this to myself because sometimes, and Black women, as you're watching this, you might do the same thing. You might think, how did I let this woman talk to me like that? Right?
Yeah.
This is what I would want to say to her, right? Or this is what I can't believe I did these things. But self-forgiveness is so important. Can you share with the audience, how have you addressed that issue for yourself?
Well, first of all, I just give myself grace. I remind
Mhm.
myself that I was there for a purpose, even
Yeah,
if I stayed there too long,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Regardless of the job. I want to make
Mm,
sure and say that because I know as a therapist, I could say, well, I was there for my clients and this and that. Remember your why, right?
mhm,
So, whatever reason you got into that job,
mhm.
remember, I got into that job because of this reason, and
True,
that's what I did full on.
true,
Like,
true.
regardless if things were going bad, my supervisor was getting mad at me, whatever the reason that made you leave,
Mhm,
or even stay,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
Recognize that you did your job 100%,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
You gave it your all.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
also recognize your worth in that
Yeah.
because you put in a lot of work and time in this job. Yes, you stayed a little too long, but
Mhm.
give yourself that grace. I always tell my clients, would you be as mean as you are to yourself, to your friend, your best friend, or your family member as you're being to yourself?
Nope, they
And
wouldn't.
100% of the time they say no.
No, they
Would you
would.
tell that if your best friend had the same situation going on? Will you tell your best friend, man, you are terrible because you stayed so long at this job and da 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 da?
Right.
So why are you being so hard on yourself? You need to give
Exactly.
yourself some grace. We
Yes.
hindsight is 2020, right?
Yes.
Of course,
Yes.
now that you're out of the situation, right? You're like, oh my God, I wasted so much time. You
Mhm.
have to give yourself grace.
Give yourself grace. Each day is a new day, right?
Yeah.
And you need to know for yourself what is best for you because sometimes
Mhm.
you might have people in your community, in your circle, who are trying to convince you to stay in a toxic job,
That
right?
too.
So that can happen. And you need to watch for that because if they're telling you to stay there, they're often projecting their own fears onto you. So be
Mhm.
mindful of what is best for you, and sometimes you just need to stop telling certain people your business. So if
Yeah.
they're telling you to stay in a toxic job and you know the toxic job is killing you, do not share with them anymore about what you think
Mhm.
about the toxic job, what your plans are.
And
Okay.
also, a lot of those people that want you to stay is because they're benefiting,
Ooh.
right? They're
Ooh.
benefiting from whatever you're bringing.
Yes. Yes.
They
Yes.
they
Yes.
might be in a toxic job themselves, and they just love being on the bottom with you. They have somebody else
Ooh.
to be negative with.
Oh
Right?
God, they love being at the bottom with you, right?
Yeah.
They love
So you got to
company.
think about yourself
Yes,
and
absolutely,
your health.
absolutely. Oh, so important, so important. So let's can you share with the audience, and I'm going to read the chat too. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do so. So subscribe now, give this video a thumbs up, and share this video with other Black women. Okay. So let's can you share with the audience about the work that you're doing now and how people can contact you? What are your services?
Mhm. Well, like I said earlier, I'm a licensed professional counselor supervisor and also a life coach. So I give coaching and also therapy. I'm EMDR trained. That's a trauma modality. So for people that have had past trauma,
Mhm.
that's a specialized type of therapy for people with trauma. I also
Mhm.
do couples and family therapy in my
Mhm.
practice. I am licensed in the state of Texas. So anybody watching here in Texas, I can gladly see you. My website is www.shininglightsllc.com. And you can find me in all social media platforms at Shining Lights LLC. And, I called my practice Shining Lights because I wanted to shine a light on everybody's strengths, because that's what I focus on in my practice. I
Yes.
think sometimes we come in with whatever issues that we
Mhm.
want to address and we feel like we cannot overcome them, and
Yeah.
all of that we need to overcome those things are inside of us. So I just shine a light on it, and that's why
Yeah.
I called it Shining Lights LLC.
Yes, I love that. I love that because I think so many times as Black women, people try to dim our light or they tell us that
Yeah.
we're not shining enough or we're shining too bright or we get all these messages. And so it's important for us to acknowledge the light within us because
Hmm.
when people or we are in any environment that doesn't recognize our light or support our light or even encourage our light to get a little brighter,
Hmm.
that's probably not the place for us. Okay, in
Yeah.
terms of the workplace. Yes, yes, yes. So let's, and everyone, I'm going to put Liz's information in the description section. Okay. So I want to read the chat. And again, if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do so. And also give this video a thumbs up. And the reason I'm saying this is because I've had quite a few Black women reach out to me and they're like, oh my God, I know your video exists. I didn't know your channel existed. So this will tell YouTube to suggest this video to other Black women. So again, give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel and turn the notification bell so you will know when I post new videos, okay? So I see Iris here. Hello, Iris. Let me just tell this quick story. I'm on an airplane and I sit next to Iris and we talked the whole flight from Seattle to LA. And Iris is now my new friend. So thank you,
Okay.
Iris, for tuning in. And that's the part that I love about Black women, how we are able to many times relate to one another because of our experiences and
Definitely.
have that certain bond. Okay. Okay. Thank you for the invitation. Good evening, everyone. Yes, my heart is heavy. So again, we're talking about the 3 Black women that we mentioned
Yeah.
earlier who have lost their lives in relation to the stress, right? Yes, please be sure to put the like button to ensure this video is shown to other Black women toxic job survivors. Thank you, Marissa. Marissa is my outstanding virtual assistant. She is outstanding.
Mhm.
Hello from Atlanta. Yes, the micromanaging is so harmful. Yes, the insomnia, rumination, and lack of appetite was so real. You're a whole person with interests, skills, and talents that exist outside of your title. After this is over, if you could recommend any career coaches that might be able to help some of us seeking to transition to another career field, I'd be so grateful. Okay, so go to my website and go to the contact page, send me a message, and I'll follow up with you. Okay. Good evening, everyone. You are supposed to be happy to just have a job. How dare you ask for recognition? Yes, which is so crazy. That workplace bully I had, she would like make it seem like you were lucky to have a job. Like, wait a minute.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, the self-isolation was something I experienced as well. Terrified due to recession, yes. And that part, the fear, it's there. And that's what Lisa was saying too. Start thinking about how you can start planning your exit while you are currently at your job. If you are that fearful, try that, okay? Because then that can help you feel a sense of confidence, and then you're able to pivot. But I
You
don't want
always explore
anyone.
other alternatives.
Yes,
Yeah.
please do. Please
Be
do.
open to that.
Exactly. I don't want anyone to stay somewhere just out of fear. Okay. The fear is there, but I don't want you to stay just because of that.
Yeah.
And then my dear friend, Maritza, also my VA. So if you are a Black woman and you are ready to leave a toxic job, book a discovery call with me. So click here and you get on my calendar and we can talk about a discovery call, get your exit plan together, get out. Okay.
Yes.
Previous guest, Jackie, love this. Family and devils. Work is a component of life, but that's it, just a component. Sometimes we think that because it is a big component, that it should drive our lives. Nope, that I completely agree. We are most valuable as a person than our role. Yes, we matter. So true, so true. Some of us are older and ageism is real. Yes. And in terms of that too, I still want to encourage you to explore options. Okay. There are a lot of barriers that many of us encounter, but I just want to encourage all of us to still look at our options, explore our options. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Kamani, for raising awareness on this topic. You are awesome. Thank you. Yes, when they want to stay in a toxic environment, it's the misery loves company move. Beware of that. So true. Someone read Jackie's book, Hush Money. Awesome. After your podcast with Dr. Kamani, amazing. Okay. And thank you for sharing, ladies. Okay. So everyone, I just want you to and I say this to my clients sometimes, I just want you to marinate on what we talked about today. Okay. Just marinate it and just reflect on it and just think about for yourself and sit with yourself and ask yourself, how are you really feeling at your job? Also, are you experiencing any signs of burnout like we talked about? Are you experiencing burnout? Are you dreading waking up? Are you exhausted all the time? Does it feel like people are putting all the work on you and you're not getting any of the credit? If any of these things are happening to you, please pay attention to that, number one. Number two, get the support you need. So we talked about community. We talked the importance of reality testing with trusted people in your community about what's going on. Therapy is so important. So if you need that extra support from an objective person, then seek therapy. I do have information in the description section about how to find a Black therapist and also about resources about finding a Black therapist. And start exploring options. It could be as easy as looking on Indeed, looking on Glassdoor, start talking to people, start networking, start getting your stuff, LinkedIn, start getting your stuff together. Don't be paralyzed by the fear. If you need support, support is out here for you. As I said before, I'm here to support you. If you are ready to leave and you're ready to get the exit plan together, then get on my calendar, okay?
And also don't be
happen.
Also, don't be paralyzed by your being comfortable either.
Oh,
right?
You're not even comfortable.
That doesn't mean that's the space for you to stay in forever.
Yes.
I always tell people the best time to look for a new job is while you have one.
Yes. Yes.
So you feel confident and you don't have that fear of, okay, how am I going to pay my bills?
Yes.
Your bills are getting paid right now. Let me find something better, even better.
Exactly. And you know what's so interesting, Litsa, is that I would challenge us to really ask ourselves, am I comfortable or am I used to this? Because comfortable is like, I feel good where I am. This is like, oh, this is great. I don't think many of us are comfortable in our workplaces. I think that we come to expect certain things, right? Or we know how things operate or whatever. And there's a degree of, I would say, false safety. Because it's not safe because people are coming for you, right? So just be mindful of that and just say to yourself, is this the life that I want for myself? Is it? Because if it's not, then start making those steps. It could be baby steps at first to pivot and get out, okay? So I see another comment. Yes, I've been on medical leave for a year from burnout. Yes, yes, yes. I remember when I was on medical leave because of the stress from the job. That's why I was on medical leave. Because of the stress from the job. Again, pay attention to the signs. If a job is harming you in any way, that it's not a good job. I know in terms of, we talked about money and, sometimes we're like, oh, well, this job pays well. I got good benefits. But
Yeah.
think about it. If you are using your benefits because of the stress from the job, is that a benefit? Is that a good benefit?
Nope.
Yeah, I don't think it is. Okay.
Yeah. If you're
So,
using all your benefits because of your job, that shouldn't be it.
right. It doesn't make sense. Can you
Yeah.
go somewhere else where you still have benefits and you're not using your benefits to mitigate what's happening at the job? That doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
Yes, and I see Marissa also. I took FMLA due to burnout. Yes, yes, yes. Burnout is so real. And just know if you're experiencing this, there's nothing wrong with you acknowledging you're being hurt. Now, don't tell those people at the job. Don't
Yeah.
do that. Don't go to human resources. No. But talk to your people, talk in therapy, because I think a lot of times for us as Black women is that we feel we've internalized that we're the strong Black woman too, and that we can't be weak and we can't let this place, we can't let this place,
Break you down.
right. But the truth is, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And when you
Yeah.
don't acknowledge it and you keep lying to yourself, you stay in that toxic job for longer. So
Yeah.
let's be honest with ourselves. Let's talk to those people who we trust about what we're going through, and let's get the support that we need.
And
Okay.
also, I think we grew up, seeing our parents never taking care of themselves,
Yeah.
having 2 or 3 jobs or working a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
also that is imprinted in us. Like you have the hustle mentality is
Yeah.
imprinted,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And it's not healthy.
No, it's
That's the
not.
reality.
It's not. Think about how many of our ancestors have left us sooner because of unhealthy living, stress, all those other things. And so let's give honor to them too by
Yeah.
choosing a different life for ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's, as we are winding, I see also, thank you for this conversation. I'm currently on personal leave, also dealing with burnout, sending support to anyone who's experiencing that degree of stress right now. So sending support to you. So let's, as we're signing off, any last words you want to share with the audience?
Just take care of yourself. Find that support. Take breaks. Again, I push self-care because that's going to sustain you, right?
Yeah.
Before you get burned out, you need to be doing self-care.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, there's stuff that's going to happen at your job, but if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be able to come with 100%.
Yeah, exactly. And can I ask you a question? And
Yes.
the back of you, does it say breathe?
Yes.
Okay, let me just say that, right? So just think about the job masking that many of us encounter in the toxic workplace, and we're actually not fully breathing. We can't
We're
fully
not.
exhale. And so that's not healthy either. So be in an environment where you can fully breathe and you can fully be yourself. Okay. So again, give this video a thumbs up. Share this video with other Black women. I would say at least 2. Okay. Send this video to at least 2 other Black women and subscribe to my channel and turn the notifications.
Also follow me.
Yeah, tell your social media again. Tell it.
Shining Lights LLC at all platforms.
Yes. So follow us, okay? And follow any other supportive Black women. So I'm signing off, and I will see you next time. Take care. Let's see if you could just stay on for a moment, okay? Bye, everyone. And thank you for your patience with the technological issues earlier. Thank you so much. Okay. Bye-bye.